Well, I hope you all enjoyed the film. I'm sure that you did.
We did. Absolutely.
Brilliant. So, we're absolutely thrilled to have on our panel here lots of the ladies, as you can see, as well as Lena. Am I pronouncing that right? Lena.
Lena Plöprinte.
I'm going to leave how to pronounce correctly, thank you. And Ari, of course. So I thought we would start by allowing the ladies to introduce themselves, actually. Apart from the fact that I want you to remember all of their amazing names, I thought it would be great for them to introduce yourselves and tell us something about maybe how you met Ari. I know some of it was in the film, but not all of it. And perhaps you could say something about what advanced style means to you. Does it mean being fabulous, being elegant, just being free to show your true selves however you like, or yeah.
Okay. Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Joyce Carpati, and I'm 82 years old, and I'm loving it. You know, I met Ari on the street. He had the nerve to come over to me and say, "Madam, can I take your photo?" And I looked at him in New York, a young, handsome man coming over to a woman like me, and I said, "Listen, I'm no cougar." I said, no, he said, I'm very serious. And he took his card out, and I saw that it was legit. And I said, okay, go ahead. And then he arranged to come over to my home and with Lena, and he proceeded to photograph me. And my life has not been the same. I had a very interesting life. Would you like to tell you a bit about that? Because there's so many of us.
Yeah.
I had a very interesting life. I had worked with the Hearst magazines, Good Housekeeping, and Cosmopolitan. And my life was very full, but I had retired. I'd worked for them about 29 years. And I thought my son was married, I was a widow, and my family lived in Paris. So I went to stay with them for a while, learned French, and then came back, of course, to be with my family. And then I met him, and my life changed. With advanced style, I went on to another dimension in my life. I realized what inspiration I could be for others because I had reached a certain age, and I felt that life is still there. I have a freedom. I can do so much, and that's where I am. So the project is wonderful. Ari and Lena have been wonderful, and I've met some marvelous, marvelous women, just marvelous, and that's why I'm here.
Thank you.
I'm Deborah Rappaport, and I'm only 69 and loving every bit of it. And my partner says I'm the only woman he knows who wants to be older. Many of the campaigns that Ari gets, they want the 80 and 90-year-olds, so I'm striving for that. But I was able, like you see, to be in a Kmart campaign, and that was fun. And Lena and Ari, I don't have children, so I've adopted Lena and Ari as I'm half Lithuanian, and Lena's from Lithuania, so the minute she walked in, I said, okay, you're going to be my daughter. And, you know, we've hung out a lot together, we've cried together, we've talked, we've eaten, you know, as Joy said, they come to your home and they film you, as you see, in your real life. So it's been amazing. Every time I think life is like doing whatever it is that I normally do, I get a call from Ari and he says, how about, would you like to do a shoot? Would you like to walk down Madison Avenue with me? So it's been incredible. They've been just, in the last Q&A they were saying, but you know, it happens in New York. It could only happen in New York. But I think now that the film is out, it's going to happen. There are going to be pockets everywhere.
Yeah. So let's make it happen.
Lindell Cohen is my name, and fashion is my game. First of all, I want to tell you all we're thrilled to be here, that we're all Jewish except Lena, and she's become Jewish. Not only have Ari and Lena become very, very good friends, but their parents, who are sitting in the audience, are also very good friends, and it's wonderful to be part of this whole thing. I am the only one that's married here for 61 years, and I have 3 sons, and I'm 81 years old. And to tell you that I've always loved fashion, I've always been into fashion, and there's something about New York and Jewishness and just doing your own thing and having a little more guts, you might say. And I love what I do. I have a boutique shop, and I've had it for 50 years, and I dress people from all over the world. But meeting Ari and meeting Lina have been absolutely wonderful. I met Ari as I was walking, I think at a museum or on the east side someplace, and he tells his story much better than I do. He said I was wearing a green hat, a green cape, green jewelry, and I reminded him of his grandmother, who he loved so much and adored. And so he asked me if he could take my picture, and he was very frightened because he just started the website, and a lot of people say no to him. And immediately I said yes, and the reason I said yes is, number one, he was young, number two, he was good looking, number three, he was charming. There was something warm and lovely about him. Not, can I take your picture and the hell with you. He was, you could see he was interested, and of course I said yes, and we've been friendly ever since, and this has really, my life has always been wonderful, but I must tell you, this is really the icing on the cake. I wanted to go to Hollywood since I was 18 years old. Lana Turner and Ginger Rogers were my idols, but I must tell you, I like England just as well.
So I'm Tzipora, and I was born and raised in Israel, and my parents were Hungarian Jews. They were survivors. My father was a tailor who survived the camps by sewing the Nazi uniforms, and my mother was a gifted dressmaker. So from day one, I was literally dressed by amazing craftspeople. They made all my clothes. In Israel, you had to go to either my father or my mother for clothes. There were no ready-made clothes yet. So given that, you know, the fabric of my life, the thread of my life has always been clothes. I always grew up around them. I always loved them. I always delighted in them. I put on fashion shows for the relatives from day one. My aunt in America was married to the vice president of Neiman Marcus. So clothes are in my DNA. And I've always dressed, you know, always. In high school, I always dressed. From day one, I dressed. I continue to dress. What gets me out of bed in the morning, because I know I'm going to put on something wonderful. And how I met them was, actually, my picture was taken by someone else. It wasn't Ari. And he sent my picture to Ari, who made me an honorable member of the site, because at that point the cutoff was 60 and I was 59 at the time. So I'm 64 now. So and then the video started, and because of that, I've had a pretty a presence on, well, definitely in New York because of Bill Cunningham, because he takes my pictures a lot. And I've been in the New York Times a lot in the style section. But Ari it took me international because of his site. And I get emails from all over the world, and young people from all over the world write. And I think what we all have in common is that we love to dress. And what we do is we give permission for people to dress, for women to go into their closets and dress. And, you know, we get letters that say, you know what, I'm tired of wearing sweats, and I'm tired of not doing it, and why not put on some color? And the best thing about dressing is that it opens up worlds. You know, people love us for it. They smile, we smile. You know, it's a loop of love, and it brings joy and beauty to the world, and hence connects us all. And here we are. So we're thrilled to be here, and it's a good movement. You know, it's just a feel-good, positive. You know, as the film is, it inspires people to be themselves and to be courageous and to take risks and get dressed again the way we used to. You know, people used to get dressed.
Can I do one?
Absolutely.
I'm Lina, I'm 30, and I met Ari when I was working in the coffee shop, and Ari walked in his paisley outfit, had head to toe pink, print on print, so we hit it off immediately, and he started the blog pretty much a few months after that, and seeing the blog being inspired by what he's doing, I asked him could I do some little videos with them, and Deborah was the very first subject of, you know, show me your closet, show me your clothes, why are you wearing these clothes and what's your style philosophy? And after the beautiful takeoff on YouTube of these little videos that people just loved and commented and said, can we get some more? We've realized, well, there has to be more. There has to be more than just 3-4 minute videos. We have to make a film. And 5 years of sweat, tears, sleeping in Lynn's house for a weekend and crying on shoulders of Ilona and Deborah and all kinds of crazy adventures after. Here we are in London with our moms, all of them. And what we've learned is undescribable amount of good style tips and aging tips, which are not tips of aging. It's rather not being afraid of aging, which was the reason of starting this whole conversation of like, oh, it's kind of scary. How you guys are so fabulous, and everything in media seems that the age is going to be just a horrible thing to go through. And you see these women walking around proud and in great posture, and we started wondering how that's going to be. And just by observing how they live, I think I think I beat the fear of aging. How about you, Ari?
Well, I'm Ari, and how old am I? 32. And I went to the JCC preschool, so it's good to be back here. What am I saying now?
How did you meet Arika?
How did I meet myself? Well, I'll just tell you, I guess, a little bit of my story. I grew up in California, and my grandmothers were my best friends, and so I've always had a connection and affinity for older people, but I never thought that was unique. I thought everyone kind of had this relationship with older people, and I used to draw pictures of my grandma and her friends, and made my first book when I was 7 years old of fabulous women all dressed up with my grandmother, and so my grandmother they both always kind of nurtured my creativity and let me go through their closets and their drawers, and I was fascinated by their past. And my one grandmother was a librarian, and she studied at Columbia University in New York, and I would just look through her old photograph books and see all these women who were dressed up in hats and gloves, and they didn't all have money, but they all looked elegant no matter what, and that really struck me. And she introduced me to old movies, and so I guess my idea of style and presentation was based on all of this. And Bluma, my grandmother, told me if I wanted to be creative, I should move to New York. And so for a number of years, my mom and I, when she started to get sick in her 90s, we took care of her and were her nurses. And then when she passed away, I knew that was my time to move to New York and follow her guidance. And so I moved and started meeting all these ladies on the street, I think because she was guiding me, and decided to take their photographs and interview them. And I started the blog because I wanted to show people a different side of aging. And initially I just wanted to meet older people, I think because I had that absence in my own life. And then I realized, like, well, maybe these women can really help change our perception of aging. And I had young girlfriends who were complaining about their first gray hair who were 30, and I think I wasn't as afraid of aging because of my grandmothers, but obviously they helped to even make us feel better. So that's my story.
Thank you. And what do you guys think of London? Do you think that that something like this movement could take off here? I mean, obviously we've had amazing press with the film release, and the blog is pretty well known in a lot of artistic circles already.
It's already here. The cover of my book is Gitta Lee, who's I photographed in London, and a lot of the ladies in my book are from London. So you guys already have it. Yeah, I mean,
I'll let them answer, but I think it's already here. Look at the audience.
Do you think there's a difference, Ari, the London and the New Yorkers?
Me personally?
Yeah.
Is there a difference between London and New York as far as style or as far as attitude?
Style.
New York definitely has a unique, I think each place has something unique. When I go to Florence or Milan, there's a very unique kind of way that women put themselves together. And then but then there's that one person that stands out who's wearing all leopard print and beautiful glasses. So I think that there's interesting people everywhere in every community, and then there's kind of that standard uniform that maybe people feel like they have to wear at a certain age, where like in California where I'm from, people wear sweats and t-shirts, but my grandmothers never did. And then in Paris, where everyone thinks that I should go and photograph, I feel like there's a very kind of structured kind of suits and a little scarf, and it's not that adventurous. New York happens to be a city where you can be very adventurous and bold, and there's so many people that you can get away with anything, and I think
Like London.
London as well, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Look at you.
I think all women want their freedom. They want to look good, and they want new styles, and I think we're allowing them to do that. I do wonderful things with clothes. I wear crazy, crazy stockings. Everything else will be of a dark color, but I'll dare with the stockings. Or I'll get a marvelous scarf, a beautiful large brooch, and I'll tell you, if you wear a dark dress and get yourself a huge piece of jewelry, big, on a chain, maybe a bracelet, little earrings, the shoes shall be the same color as the dress, and a pair of marvelous stockings, people will turn and look at you, and you'll feel good. You'll feel really good about it. So get it.
I think it's definitely happening here. Linda and I were having lunch at Modern Pantry, and we started to talk to our waitress, and before we knew it, all the waitresses, we gave out the cards. They said, "We know you. We know all about the film. We know all about the blog." Then a very exquisite woman walked in, and I kind of looked at her, and we kind of smiled. And afterwards, I went up to her and gave her the card about the movie and said, "I know you're one of us." She says, "Yes, I am. I've known you for years." And she's involved with the distribution with the Jewish Center of Films. So there she was having lunch with us, and it was all right in front of us already. So it's happening, and it's going to happen all over as the film gets distributed.
And I have a shop called Off-Broadway Boutique in the west side of New York, near Lincoln Center, and people come from all over the world and say they've seen Advanced Style, they've seen the book, they've seen the blog, and they just want to see what it's all about, and it's changed their life. As you see in the movie, there was a woman who came from, I forget, Alaska, I think, and that happens all the time, and it's so exciting. It's not that she had to buy something new, but she took out a colored blouse or something she'd never worn that she put in the back of her closet. It gave her permission to make a mistake, to try something new, to be exciting, to be herself. To be yourself is really the most important thing. Not one of us is alike, and we all respect each other, and we think we're all wonderful, but we're wonderful in different ways. Each of us has a different talent.
I think it's happening. I think it's always happened. I think there are pockets of creativity, and women have always dressed. You know, as Jews, we're encouraged to get dressed when we go to synagogue, right, for Shabbat and the holidays. And every day for me is Shabbat and Purim. You know, definitely. I do Purim every day, you know, and it's fun. You know, it's fun, and it brings joy to people. And it brings joy to me, number one. You know, I look down, and it's like, whoa, the gold in the shoes goes with the gold here, and the gold here, and the gold here. You know, it's fun. It's art. And I think what we do is we give women permission to dress again. And women have always dressed, right? And it just now coming back. And so they go into their closets and they bring out the old stuff, which is great. You know, good clothes are good clothes, you know, from 20 years ago, from 30 years ago. You know, what was good 30 years ago is good today. It'll be good in 30 years. You know?
Excuse me, I just want to interrupt. I just want to say that Sephora has a one-woman show,
I was about to say that.
which
She
is
should be here.
wonderful. She really should be in this synagogue, in this place, giving she came into my store and did a one-woman show that was so fantastic, and she studies it, she knows it, and she does a wonderful job.
She just did it in Toronto, and it was a big success.
We don't work for her.
She changed my life.
we want to do a film on men now.
Yeah.
And it might start as a short film project, and then we'll go from there. Because you guys are the first ones. London is the first place we're showing the film besides a festival in Toronto. So we're just starting this journey of getting the film out there. So please recommend it to everyone. We have a lot of work to do there, but then we'll start working on some interviews and footage for the next project.
Did the women influence your dress sense?
Oh, did the women?
Yeah, you look very different now than I saw as we went through the show.
You know what?
You got a bit more like trendy.
To tell you the truth, how do I say this? When we were making the film, we did this on our own. It was Lina and I. So Lina would set up the microphones, and I would be listening to the sound, and I'd be running around with my backpack, and like, I didn't dress because we had camera equipment, and you know what I mean? It wasn't like, it wasn't my chance to shine. And I always wear crazy stuff. I mean, my mom took me thrift store shopping my whole life, and I've always had kind of eccentric fashion. And you know, I went in my grandmother and my grandfather's closets, and my mom used to let me wear her silk shirts, and you know, just all sorts of things. But in the film, for like at a party I would dress myself, but otherwise we were working, so I wasn't necessarily trying to be the focus. These ladies are the focus. So, but yes, they inspire both of us. I think Lina can talk about that more. How the ladies have inspired your style.
Oh, the ladies have inspired most. It's definitely 150% better because of you. I got myself some amazing Chinese things, which I never even thought I would ever wear. But seeing, when you edit a film for a year and a half, something must seep into your head. And every advice, every Lindell's one phrase that just knocks you off the feet, which is, fashion says, me too. Style says, only me. You know, they seep into your head after a while. And I mean, Deborah's thrifting like crazy. Now you made me discover what's our favorite thrift store? Housing Works in New York City, which I never went before. And of course, Joyce, well, you can't. You have elegance or you don't, and I don't think I do. but your affinity to classy is something I aspire to have one day as well. So
Very nice to hear.
every single one of them is just the absolute icon of style in their own way, and you just pick up as you go, as I hope you did too as you were watching the film, because there's something for every one of us.
She's had the mic. I've got two things. First of all, I don't know whether you need to know to go to a place called Camden Town, which is only a mile down the road from here. It's a very famous, well-known market area where you can pick up very, very cheap vintage clothes, etc. And I think that you should certainly make an effort to go there.
I was there. It was wonderful. I had such wonderful time there.
It's called Camden Town.
Yes.
Is it near Spitalfields?
No.
Okay, if you want to go to Spitalfields,
Oh, you
maybe we should go to Camden.
No, you want to go to Spitalfields.
Is Camden Town where the cyber dog is?
Yeah.
Crazy party rave store.
And Portobello Road as well, it's also very good. But my other question I want to ask you is, because you're in England first, you're in a Jewish audience at the moment, you're going to be, if it's going to be a popular film that gets released in other countries, hopefully you'll be able to travel, and you'll be meeting non-Jewish people. How are you going to represent yourself as sort of people looking into the Jewish psyche of confident women with European backgrounds living in New York? How do you think you're going to present yourself to non-Jewish audiences?
I think just we're going to be who we are, and it's going to come across, because I don't think it matters. It's in us, and everybody else's personality or their DNA is in them. So let it shine.
It's just a coincidence.
Also,
Yeah, it's just a
I'm not
coincidence.
Jewish, and I found interest in them, so I mean, you have to be Jewish per se.
Right. Baby's Jewish rye.
But we were excited to meet you guys.
I'd like to ask you, do any of you ever get up in the morning and think you just can't be bothered?
No, never, because even if it's just 2 layers or a pair of leotards and a shirt. It just depends on the weather and the color I feel like wearing. But I always put makeup on because that immediately makes me feel good. And if I don't put eye makeup on, I feel like my eyes are going to close.
And I'm not so. I love going out, I love having lunch, and I say dress for the theater of your life every day. But I must tell you, on a Sunday, I love staying home, not getting dressed, putting Vaseline on my face, and just slumping around. I love it. I love it.
I do too, but let's say I have days when I'm just in my pajamas, but I love my pajamas. They're great pajamas.
Tell them about your pajamas, come on.
So my pajamas are either men's vintage 40s striped pajamas, or they're Derrick Rose pinstripe, shadow stripe pajamas. And Derrick Rose is a British company, so
I have
men's.
my pajamas on right there.
Yeah, I wear a lot of men's pajamas, from the 40s, but everything I have I love and gives me pleasure visually and that technically. It has to feel good and it has to look good. So it doesn't have to be all dressed up. It just has to look good it has to give my eyes pleasure. That's number one.
Will each of you tell me how long it takes you to look so fabulous?
Exactly.
Okay, go ahead, you start. It takes me really a very short time because I know what to do with my hair. I know what I want on my face. I use very little, but I use the right things. What does a woman need? She needs a moisturizer with sunscreen. You don't go out without sunscreen. A little blush, eye makeup. If you need powder, you put a little powder on. That takes a few minutes. Yes.
Excuse me. You have an amazing skin. What cream do you use?
First thing, I stay out of the sun. I've never gone into the sun. You can use any cream by the L'Oreal company. They're wonderful. The Plenitude line is fantastic. You don't have to spend a lot of money. And I worked with this for many, many years, so I know. But most important, the sunscreen, eat well, stay out of the sun, get your sleep, and you can look wonderful. Believe me.
Well, you look amazing.
Thank you. So do you. In fact, you know what? So do all of you. I really feel wonderful being here with you because you all look good. And eat oatmeal.
I have a question. I have a couple of things. First of all, I just enjoyed it so much. Like we all sat and smiled the whole way throughout, and I've followed you, Ari, on like